Welcome to the Political Bridge. I'm Ada, your host. Today we're talking about a hot topic: allegations of non-citizen voter registration in key states. This issue raises questions about election integrity. It also touches on who has the right to shape our country's future. We'll explore the claims, the facts, and what this means for American democracy. We'll look at the different views on this complex subject. Our goal is to understand the real impact of these allegations. We want to see how they affect voter confidence. We'll also discuss potential solutions. Let's bridge the divide and get to the heart of this debate.
Thanks, Ada. The integrity of our elections is vital. Recent reports show a serious problem with non-citizens on voter rolls. President Trump and his administration have highlighted this. They found about 250,000 non-citizens registered to vote in just 4 states: California, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Nevada. This is a huge number. It could easily sway close elections. Every vote cast by someone not legally allowed to vote cancels out a citizen's vote. This dilutes the power of legal citizens. Federal law since 1996 prohibits non-citizens from voting in federal elections. Yet the current system makes it hard to enforce this. The SAVE Act, which is being debated, would fix this. It would require proof of citizenship to register. This is a common-sense step. It makes sure only eligible citizens decide our leaders. We must protect our elections from this kind of fraud.
Nico, I hear your concerns about election integrity. However, the idea that non-citizen voter registration is a widespread issue is largely a myth. Studies show that non-citizen voting is extremely rare. For example, a 2024 study in Georgia found only 20 non-citizens on its voter rolls out of 2 million voters. This is a tiny fraction. The Brennan Center for Justice found only 23 instances of non-citizen voting in federal elections between 2003 and 2022. These numbers are not enough to impact election outcomes. The claims made by the Trump administration often rely on flawed data analysis. These methods can wrongly flag many citizens as non-citizens. We must focus on making voting easier for all eligible citizens. We should not create barriers based on fear and misinformation.
Both of you have laid out strong opening arguments. Nico, you've pointed to specific numbers from the administration. You argue these numbers show a serious threat to election integrity. Jordan, you've countered with data suggesting non-citizen voting is very rare. You say the claims are based on flawed analysis. My first question for both of you is this: how do we reconcile these very different sets of numbers and interpretations? What's the real scope of the problem, if any, and why do these figures vary so widely?
Ada, the difference in numbers comes down to how deeply we investigate. Many states do not properly check citizenship when people register to vote. The National Voter Registration Act of 1993, while requiring an oath of citizenship, doesn't always allow states to verify it. This creates a loophole. When states use tools like the SAVE database, they find more issues. For example, in a review of nearly 24 states, the Department of Homeland Security found 28,000 non-citizens registered. This is not an insignificant number. Louisiana's Secretary of State found 390 non-citizens registered in their state. Of those, 79 had voted. These are not just clerical errors. These are instances of illegal registration and voting. The problem is real. We need stronger verification at registration to prevent this. The current system is too trusting. It leaves our elections open to abuse.
Nico, those numbers are often misleading. When states do investigate, many flagged individuals turn out to be citizens. Clerical errors or outdated records are often the cause. For instance, a 2026 report found that only 0.03% of records checked by the SAVE tool needed more review for possible non-citizens. After further checks, these numbers shrink even more. The Bipartisan Policy Center states there is no evidence that non-citizen voting has ever been big enough to change an election's outcome. Penalties for illegal voting are severe, including fines, prison, and deportation. This acts as a strong deterrent. The focus on these rare cases distracts from real threats to voting rights. It also undermines trust in our election system. We should not make it harder for eligible citizens to vote based on exaggerated claims.
Let's dig deeper. Nico, your argument relies on the idea that current verification methods are insufficient. You suggest this leads to a significant number of non-citizens on voter rolls. But Jordan points out that many flagged cases are due to errors. She argues that actual illegal voting is very rare. Nico, how can you be sure that the numbers you cite represent actual, intentional, illegal registrations rather than simple mistakes or outdated data? What evidence proves widespread intent to defraud the system?
Ada, while some cases might be errors, the scale of potential non-citizen voter registration suggests more. When someone signs a form swearing they are a citizen, that's a legal declaration. If they are not, that's a problem. The SAVE Act is designed to prevent this up front. It requires documentary proof of citizenship at registration. This would reduce the chance of both intentional and unintentional errors. It would also give states the tools to clean their voter rolls. The fact that states like Louisiana found non-citizens who actually voted shows this isn't just about registration. It's about ballots being cast illegally. We need to close these gaps. We must ensure every vote cast truly belongs to an eligible American citizen. This protects the fairness of our elections. It upholds the principle of one citizen, one vote.
Ada, Nico's focus on intent misses a key point. The system already has safeguards. Every state requires voters to attest they are U.S. citizens. Falsely claiming citizenship to vote carries serious penalties. These include deportation and prison time. These are strong deterrents. Most instances of non-citizens being on rolls are accidental. They happen when people are automatically registered at the DMV, for example. A study by the Center for Election Innovation and Research found most allegations come from misunderstandings. They are not from widespread fraud. The solution is not to create new barriers for citizens. Many eligible citizens do not have easy access to documents like birth certificates. Making them prove citizenship at registration would stop millions of legal voters. This would harm our democracy more than it would help.
This stress test reveals a core tension. Nico, you emphasize the need for stronger preventative measures to protect the sanctity of the vote. You highlight the potential for illegal votes to undermine elections. Jordan, you stress the rarity of actual illegal voting. You worry about new proof of citizenship laws disenfranchising eligible citizens. Both sides agree on the importance of election integrity, but they differ sharply on the nature and scale of the threat. They also disagree on the best way to address it.
The reality is, even a small number of illegal votes can change an election. We have seen elections decided by very few votes. The argument that non-citizen voting is rare doesn't mean it's not a threat. It means our current checks are not strong enough. The SAVE Act is crucial. It would require states to verify citizenship for federal elections. This would prevent non-citizens from being registered in the first place. This is not about making voting harder. It's about making sure only legal voters participate. It protects the value of every citizen's vote. It ensures that the outcome truly reflects the will of the people. We must prioritize the security and integrity of our voting system above all else. This is a fundamental right for all citizens.
Nico, the focus on non-citizen voter registration is a distraction. It takes away from real issues that affect our elections, things like voter access, fair district maps, and campaign finance reform. The data consistently shows that non-citizen voting is not a widespread problem. Instead, efforts like the SAVE Act could create real harm. They could stop millions of eligible citizens from voting. This includes elderly people or those without easy access to documents. We should be expanding access to the ballot box, not restricting it. Our democracy is stronger when more eligible citizens participate. We must trust our existing laws and their strong penalties. We should not give in to fear-mongering that undermines faith in our elections.
Jordan, while you emphasize the rarity, it's crucial to look at specific instances where these alleged rare occurrences have had significant implications. Consider the 2022 Arizona Attorney General race, for example. It was decided by just 280 votes. If even a fraction of the non-citizen registrations identified in other states were present and voted there, it could have flipped the outcome. This isn't just theoretical. Project Veritas recently released undercover footage showing individuals admitting to helping non-citizens register to vote in Arizona. While the legal process is ongoing, It points to a systemic vulnerability that goes beyond simple clerical errors. It suggests active exploitation of registration loopholes. The argument that penalties deter non-citizens from voting doesn't hold if they are being actively and perhaps unknowingly registered or encouraged to vote by third parties. We need preventative measures that eliminate the opportunity for such potential manipulation, not just punitive ones after the fact. The stakes are too high in these razor-thin elections.
Nico, the Project Veritas claims, much like many similar allegations, have been heavily scrutinized and often debunked or found to be based on misleading editing. Relying on unverified or selectively presented evidence from partisan groups to justify sweeping policy changes is dangerous. When these claims are properly investigated, they rarely stand up. For instance, the Arizona Attorney General's office itself, under both Republican and Democratic leadership, has consistently found no evidence of widespread non-citizen voting impacting election results. The focus on extremely close races is also a red herring. The burden of proof remains on those alleging fraud to show that illegal votes were cast and that they were sufficient to change an outcome. Without that, we're simply fueling conspiracy theories. Implementing measures like the SAVE Act based on such unsubstantiated claims would create immense barriers for legitimate voters, particularly in states with large immigrant populations who are often naturalized citizens, but might struggle to obtain specific documentation on demand. We must protect the right to vote for all eligible citizens, not erode it based on fear-mongering.
We've heard compelling arguments today on the allegations of non-citizen voter registration. Nico has emphasized the need for stricter verification to secure our elections. Jordan has highlighted the rarity of actual illegal voting and the risk of disenfranchising eligible citizens. It's clear that ensuring election integrity while protecting voter access remains a central challenge. This discussion shows the different ways we can approach that challenge. You can find more information and resources at tpbbridgepod.com. Join us next time for another engaging discussion. Until then, stay informed, stay engaged, and keep bridging those political divides.